Everyone always says you should share your dreams with the world. Tell people your goals, they say. Speak it into existence, they say. But what if that's exactly what kills it? What if the moment you put your dream into words, you give it away to everyone except yourself? This is a story about a young man named Daniel who learned this lesson the hardest way possible. And by the end, you'll understand why silence might be the most powerful tool you have. Daniel sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the blank canvas against the wall. 3 years ago, he'd told everyone he'd become a painter. 3 years ago, they all believed him. Now, even he didn't believe himself anymore. This is a story about a dream that died the moment it was born. In a small village nestled between hills, there lived a young man named Daniel who worked at his father's carpentry shop. Every morning he'd wake up an hour before sunrise, not to pray, not to exercise, but to sit by his window and watch the sky change colors. Daniel had a secret. He wanted to paint. Not just paint walls or fences like his father did sometimes. He wanted to paint the morning sky, the wrinkled hands of old Mrs. Chen who sold vegetables, the way rain looked when it hit the dusty road. He'd never told anyone. The dream lived inside him like a warm light, and every time he thought about it, he smiled to himself. One evening, his younger sister Maya found a small notebook under his mattress. It was filled with sketches, rough drawings of faces, trees, the village well. His secret was out. "Daniel, these are beautiful," Maya whispered, her eyes wide. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" He tried to snatch the notebook back, but she held it close to her chest. I'm just trying things out," he mumbled. "You should show Papa. You should tell everyone. You're talented." Daniel felt something twist in his chest. Part of him wanted to keep it hidden, but Maya's words felt like permission he'd been waiting for. "Maybe," he said quietly. "Maybe I will." The next Sunday, during family dinner, Maya couldn't contain herself. "Daniel wants to be a painter," she announced, her voice bright with pride. The room went quiet. His father stopped chewing. His mother's smile froze. His uncle looked up from his plate. "A painter?" his father finally said. "Like art?" Daniel's throat went dry. Yes, I've been practicing. I want to get better and maybe—" "That's wonderful," his mother interrupted, her voice a little too cheerful. "A hobby is important. Everyone needs a hobby." "No, Ma, not a hobby. I want to really do it, learn properly, maybe even—" "Study painting?" his uncle laughed, not unkindly, but the sound still stung. "Daniel, be realistic. How will you eat? Where will you live?" His father set down his fork. "Son, I'm building this carpentry business for you, for your future. Painting it's nice, but it's not a life." Daniel wanted to argue, but the words stuck in his throat. He looked around the table. Everyone was looking at him with that same expression, concern mixed with pity, like he'd just announced he wanted to fly to the moon. "I could try," he said weakly. His father sighed heavily. "You can try, but don't forget your responsibilities. Don't forget reality." That night, Daniel lay awake, the warm light inside him feeling a little dimmer. After that dinner, something strange happened. People started asking about his painting. At the market, at the well, after prayer service. "How's the painting going, Daniel?" they'd ask with encouraging smiles. And every time someone asked, Daniel felt a weight drop in his stomach, because he hadn't painted anything. After that dinner, he'd gone to the small art supply shop 2 villages over. He'd stood outside for 20 minutes before walking in. The paints were expensive, more expensive than he'd thought. He bought the cheapest set and 1 canvas, but every time he stood in front of that canvas, he heard his uncle's laugh, his father's sigh. He heard himself say, "I want to be a painter," and suddenly it sounded childish, stupid, impossible. Weeks passed. The canvas stayed blank, but the questions kept coming. "Still painting?" his neighbor would ask. "Working on something," Daniel would lie. His mother bought him a book about famous painters for his birthday. "To inspire you," she said sweetly. He thanked her and never opened it. His friends started calling him artist as a joke. It was affectionate, but it made his chest hurt. One evening, Maya came to his room. She was quieter now, older somehow. "Why did you stop?" she asked. "I didn't stop. I'm just busy with the shop." She looked at the blank canvas in the corner, gathering dust. "You haven't even tried, Daniel." "I will," but they both knew he was lying. The dream didn't die in one moment. It died slowly, quietly, like a plant nobody watered. Every question about it, every encouraging word, every expectation, they didn't feed the dream, they suffocated it. Because once Daniel spoke his dream out loud, it stopped being his. It became everyone else's opinion, everyone else's judgment, everyone else's story about him. The warm light inside him turned into a spotlight, and under that brightness, he froze. 3 years later, Daniel still worked at the carpentry shop. The canvas was long gone, thrown away during a room cleaning. People stopped asking about painting. Life moved on. One afternoon, a customer came in, a woman from the city looking to furnish a new home. As Daniel showed her different wood samples, she paused at a table he'd recently finished. "Did you make this?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am." She ran her fingers along the surface. The wood had a subtle pattern Daniel had carved into the table, not for any reason, just because it felt right. Leaves and wind, barely visible unless you looked closely. "This is art," she said softly. "This is beautiful." Daniel felt something stir in his chest, that warm light, just a flicker. "Thank you," he said. She ordered 3 more pieces, specifically asked for Daniel's work, said she loved the artistic details. Over the following months, something quiet happened. Daniel started adding small carvings to his carpentry. A bird on a chair back, waves on a cabinet door. Nothing big, nothing he announced. He didn't call himself an artist. He didn't tell anyone about a dream. He just did it, in the quiet, in the privacy of sawdust and wood. And the warm light grew again, smaller than before, different than before, but real. One day, Maya visited the shop and saw what Daniel was creating. "Daniel," she whispered, "you're still doing it. You're still making art." He looked up from his work, wood shavings in his hair, a half smile on his face. "I stopped talking about it," he said simply. "I just started doing it." Dreams don't die because people are cruel. They die because speaking them changes them. The dream becomes a promise, a performance, a thing to defend. But when you keep a dream quiet, when you let it live in the work instead of the words, when you stop announcing and start doing, that's when it grows roots. Daniel never became a famous painter, but in his quiet way, in his small corner, he became exactly what he needed to be. Not the dream he spoke, the dream he lived. This dream didn't die when he spoke it. It transformed when he stopped speaking and started living it differently. Sometimes the death of one dream is just the birth of another, quieter, truer, and entirely your own. If this story touched something in you, subscribe for more stories that make you feel and think differently.